again. We are going to do a little revision now on photosynthesis and respiration, just comparing and contrasting the two, okay? So just dividing your page up into two, okay? Photosynthesis on this side, photosynthesis, respiration on this side. Okay, now first of all, anytime you get a question on either of these things, I think it's always worth going over in your head what exactly they are, so you don't get the two confused, because in terms of electron transport and things like that, they are confusing, okay? So first of all, what is it? What is it? Okay, what's our equation? What's our equation? Obviously they're the mirror images of each other, okay, so they're easy to remember. Where does it happen? Where? Okay, so what is it? Okay, think about photosynthesis and why it's really important. So photosynthesis is really important because it's how plants make food. O2 obviously for us, okay? So it's really, really important, not just to plants but also to us. Now, in terms of respiration, what is it? So respiration is how living things get their energy from glucose. Okay, so that should help us remember our equations now underneath, okay? Now first of all, our photosynthesis equation, okay? So remember, it's how plants make food. Remember, plants, when they're making food, they're making glucose. So it's C6H12O6 on the product side. They're making oxygen for us, which is really important. It's a 6 on front of that. And think about the two things that they need to take in from their environment to do that. They need 6 carbon dioxide to take that in through their stomata of their leaves, and they need 6 H2O to take in through their roots through osmosis, okay? What are the things they need present? They need their chlorophyll, and they need sunlight. Okay, so there's our equation there. An equation for respiration will be the opposite. So remember, it's how living things get their energy from glucose. So it's going to be C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Remember, they need oxygen to get that energy from the glucose. Gives us 6H2O plus 6 CO2. That's that equation. That's equation for respiration. Obviously that happens in the mitochondria. So this happens in two places: in the cytosol of the cell, which remember, that's the cytoplasm with all the organelles removed, and the mitochondria, those little what they call the powerhouses of the cell, okay? And this happens here in the chloroplast. Okay, so now let's get on to the detail of both. So we're just going to focus on one or the other here. So let's focus on, first of all, respiration. So bringing our page a little bit over here. So first of all, our stages or steps. So your first stage, girls, is glycolysis. Glycolysis simply means the splitting of glucose. So glucose, a 6 carbon molecule, is split into 2 pyruvic acids. Okay, and 2 ATP are made. So it is a low energy reaction, okay? Doesn't require O2, okay? And it's a low energy process. Okay, it only produces those 2 ATP. It's not very useful on its own, okay? That's the first stage, all right? Second stage, 2, is your Krebs cycle. Okay, now your Krebs cycle, let's move this up a little bit here. So your Krebs cycle here, girls, this is where your pyruvic acid, that 3 carbon molecule, further gets broken down into a 2 carbon molecule, which is your acetyl coenzyme A, okay, which then further gets broken down into CO2. Now what happens here, girls? There is an electron transport circuit. Okay, so high energy electrons that come from the splitting of your pyruvic acid and acetyl coenzyme A get transferred around a number of electron accepting molecules, producing ATP each time. You also make NADH. the molecule that is used as a proton and electron transporter. Okay, so that's your Krebs cycle there. Okay, Krebs cycle happens in the mitochondria. Okay, if we look at the structure of your mitochondria here, it happens on these little folds here. They're called cristae. You don't need to know the name of those though, okay? They can happen on the little folds in the mitochondria, okay? It does requires oxygen. Requires O2 to occur. Okay, so that is respiration. They're the 2 steps there. And finally, just one more thing before I forget. It's a high energy process. Okay, so it produces lots of ATP. So it's where most of the energy is released from that glucose molecule. Okay, so hopefully that is clear enough. Now let's move over then to our photosynthesis side. Okay, so stages. Okay, now stages. So you've got 1, light stage. Okay, so dependent on light. Okay, non-temperature dependent. So it's not dependent. So it's not enzymatically controlled. Okay, it also involves electron transport stages. Okay, now the light stage itself is broken into 2 pathways. So happens in the chlorophyll. Okay, energy from the sun goes to electrons. And then those electrons have 2 pathways to go on. They can go on a cyclic pathway, or they can go on a non-cyclic pathway. Okay, so your cyclic pathway is where one electron moves around a number of different electron accepting molecules in a circle and ends up with the same chlorophyll molecule that it left. And it makes a number of ATPs along the way. Okay, your non-cyclic pathway, just as the name suggests, it does not go in a circle. The electrons do not end up at the same point as they started off as, and this makes ATP, whereas this also makes ATP. Also makes NADPH. You'll notice there's a P there. Always remember P for photosynthesis. Okay, when you're talking about respiration and photosynthesis, there's a P in that one. It's also an electron and a proton transporter. Okay, water is split. Okay, O2 is released. Okay, and the non-cyclic pathway involves 2 electrons. Cyclic pathway only involves 1 electron at a time. Okay, I'm hoping that's clear. Finally, then your second stage is your dark stage. And not a lot happens in this stage, girls, okay? So your for your dark stage, so you just glucosis and then you've got your Krebs cycle. For your dark stage, girls, your products from your light stage, which is your ATP, your NADPH, and your CO2, which comes in from your stomata, okay, combine to give glucose. Okay, which is obviously the food product that the plant is looking for. So I'm hoping, girls, that is a useful comparison of the 2 processes side by side. I'll put up a picture of that as well if that's any use to you. Thanks, ladies.